So when we're talking about games that are possibly game of the year contenders, Spider-Man 2 feels like a sure thing to at least be one of those games that are absolutely positively going to be nominated for the best game of 2023. Now, this past weekend, I completed Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5, and I'm going to give you my thoughts in this official final review of Spider-Man 2. So if you're new to the channel, please do me a massive favor, smash that thumbs up and subscribe button for all future content here on the channel. Now, a few days after the game's release, I did a first impressions video here on the channel, and today I want to go over my final thoughts on the game. Now, this video may and probably will consist of spoilers because I want to get into the nitty-gritty. I want to get into the story plot details, everything that is involved in this game, because there is so much to unpack and talk about that I just don't want to have to tippy-toe around certain topics. So if you haven't beaten the game yet, please come back later. If you don't care about spoilers, then hey, stick around. I hope you guys enjoy the video. So Spider-Man 2 is absolutely breathtaking. Like I said this in my first impressions video, I want to say it again. Big round of applause to Insomniac, because they are like the #1 studio for Sony right now. Like this studio just keeps putting out banger after banger, and it doesn't take them 5 to 6 years to do it. Where you look at something like Naughty Dog, and they haven't really done anything since Last of Us 2 other than a remaster. And I know Santa Monica did like God of War and everything, but look how long it's been taking in between development cycles, where Insomniac, just in the PlayStation 5 era alone, gave us a Spider-Man 1 remastered, Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man 2, and the Wolverine that's going to be coming out here very soon within the next year or two. Like they are constantly putting out bangers, and it's not taking a long development cycle to do so. They're very old school that way, and they're very dependable. So when you're looking at the top development teams over at Sony, I think everybody just needs to kind of give a round of applause to Insomniac. And when you look at Spider-Man 2, this game looks like it's been in development for 5 to 6 years. Yes, there's a couple little bugs and stuff like that. I had the game crash on me twice, but it wasn't anything that took away from my enjoyment. I just quit out of the game, went back into the game, and jumped right back into it. The graphics in this game is absolutely phenomenal. Like this game visually looks good. Not all the character models look great. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that like Mary Jane looks fantastic. Like some of the character models do look kind of bad, but that is something that I'm willing to just forgive because everything else looks good. New York City looks alive when the sun is setting and is shining upon New York City. It looks so photorealistic, and it's absolutely stunning that you could just sit on top of a skyscraper and just watch as the sun sets. This game has so much going for it. It takes the premise of the first Spider-Man game and it multiplies it by like 20. This game is just bigger, badder, and better in every single way. I want to get into the story of the game because I think that that is the most important part. Yes, the mechanics are all great. I'm going to talk about, the gliding suit and all that, but I want to talk about the story of the game. The story of the game is really the bread and butter of the overall experience, because if you are not liking these characters, then you have no emotional connection. I cared about everybody. I cared about Peter. I cared about Miles. I cared about MJ. I cared about the relationship between Peter and Harry. One thing that I was afraid of was what they were going to do with Venom, because I feel like Venom hasn't been handled very well other than the comic books and cartoons. Like you saw what Venom was in the Spider-Man 3 Sam Raimi movie. It wasn't good. Then they did the Venom standalone movies, and a lot of people enjoy them, but to me, that's not Venom.
Like a turd in the wind.
Sony really knocked it out of the park with Venom in this game. Like, I felt like Venom was this massive threat. I felt like Venom was going to kill every single person that I cared about in this game. He looked like Venom, he acted like Venom, and he was very, very imposing, and that was something I enjoyed. Yes, they switched the character from Eddie Brock to Harry Osborn, but if you played the first game, you knew that was sort of where they were going, and I didn't have a problem with that. When you think about it, it's a lot like the MCU did in Age of Ultron. In the comic books, Hank Pym created Ultron. In the MCU movies, in Avengers Age of Ultron, it was Tony Stark that created Ultron, and it fit the story that they were telling. I don't have a problem with a game taking the source material and changing it if it fits the story that they're trying to tell. In Spider-Man 1, we saw Norman Osborn trying to save his son Harry from whatever sickness this is, and it made sense that they would use the symbiote suit, and again, it would become Venom. Harry would become Venom. It didn't make any sense, however, if they introduced Eddie Brock out of nowhere just because Eddie Brock is Venom in the comic books. Yes, I wish that would have happened, but in the context of the story that they were telling, it made a whole lot more sense that it was Harry Osborn, and it actually put a lot more weight to the story because through the entire game, you're building this friendship. You actually believe these two are really good friends, whether it be the flashback of them in school or riding through Queens on their bicycles. They built that friendship up, so when the climax actually happens within the game, you believe it and you feel something. And that is a mark of not only a good story, but a fantastic game. Yes, it has the visuals, it has the controls, you can swing through New York, and you can do all these different side missions, but at the end of the day, it was a story about these characters and what it meant to be a hero. And Miles, what I like about this game, Miles does not take a back seat because Miles has his own redemption story. He is struggling with the darkness in himself not to forgive Martin Lee. Through this entire game, Miles is obsessed with trying to get Martin Lee and try to find justice for his father. And toward the end of the game, he gets that redemption for both those characters. And it's a very emotional story between Miles and dealing with the person that killed his father, took his father away. There was a lot going on in this game. And Insomniac, just like they always do, found a very perfect balance between gameplay and telling a fantastic story. The boss battles in this game is like second to none. I haven't seen boss battles on an epic scale like this since early God of War games. Like, these things were like just spectacles to behold. These boss battles weren't just fun and engaging, but they were just fantastic to sit back and look at. And the best part was they weren't just videos. They weren't just CGI movies. You actually interacted. It felt like you were part of the battle. You just didn't put your controller down and said, okay, this is cool to look at. No, you had to participate in the battle, and it took you through an emotional ride. Everything about this game was very well thought out. And the one thing I also enjoyed was I felt like the first game had a lot of busy work. Right? Hey, we got to go find this sample. Oh, I got to do this for Doc Ock. And I felt like they really cut back a lot of that. A lot of the side quests throughout New York City were fun to actually do. I'm just swinging around. Hey, this guy's committing a robbery. I just go down there, stop him. I stop that gang or stop that gang. And it was something I can do on the way to the next story mission. And that's what I enjoyed. It didn't take away from anything that was going on within the game itself. They even added some more Mary Jane side missions, which I did not like in the first game. But this time they made her more of a badass. Like, she actually has a stun gun. She's doing stealth. Like, she's actually able to defend herself. And that was absolutely awesome. It gives the players something to do. So they really kind of cut the fluff of all the stuff that I really did not like about the first game, and they really enhanced all the gameplay elements of what it could be in this game. And what I also enjoyed about this game was the flight suit was a great addition. I didn't know how I was going to feel about that. I was like, oh man, is this Spider-Man or Superman, you know? But it actually worked out very well because you can't just use it all the time. You have to be able to swing with your web, and then you kind of use it at the right moments. Then you can catch these air currents and go out through New York City. So at the end of the day, fast travel is sort of irrelevant. I didn't use fast travel once throughout my playthrough of this game because it was just as fun just swinging and gliding throughout the city and then doing these side missions as I go, like I stated before. It was just a fantastic experience playing this game. So when we're talking about game of the year, I feel like Spider-Man 2 has to be in conversation to be game of the year. Right now, a lot of people are talking about Baldur's Gate, and I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3. You know, it's a game I very much want to play. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I heard it's really, really good, but I heard it also has its own share of problems. So I think right now Spider-Man should be the game to kind of win it all. I think Insomniac put a lot of effort into it. I can't wait to see what they do with the Wolverine franchise and how that's going to play a part in this Spider-Man universe. But yeah, Insomniac just is one of those development teams that you look at them and like, they are producing banger after banger after banger, and they're making other studios like Naughty Dog and Santa Monica look kind of silly. And that, to me, I feel like, man, that is something that they need to step up on, because Insomniac is like holding PlayStation and bringing them across the finish line every single time, because they just keep putting out great video games. And that's why we buy these consoles, is to get great video games, a great experience. So Spider-Man, in closing, Spider-Man 2 was absolutely amazing, and I had a fantastic time playing this game. I highly recommend it for anyone that is just saying, hey, you know what, is this game as good as the first one? Is it really worth the money? Yes, it's absolutely worth the money. It's fantastic. I think it should win Game of the Year. Don't know if it's going to. It's going to be a battle between that and Baldur's Gate and maybe Tears of the Kingdom. But if it had my vote, if I was able to vote right now, I would definitely say Spider-Man 2 is Game of the Year. It is definitely my Game of the Year. I will tell you that at the end of the year, it is going to be my Game of the Year. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's fantastic. And I just love the ride. I love the ride that it put me through from beginning to end. It was just fantastic. But I want to know what you guys think. Have you played Spider-Man 2? Have you beaten the game? What are your thoughts? Leave those comments in the comment box below. And until next time, as always, I am Robert Storms, and thank you for watching.